review. Okay.
Misty, did you want to say anything about the verdict?
No, maybe we can take it off.
Today we're breaking down the case of Misty Roberts, the former mayor of DeRidder, Louisiana, whose career ended in scandal after she was convicted of sex crimes involving a minor. Roberts wasn't just any local official, she was DeRidder's first female mayor and had been re-elected for a second term in 2022. By all outward appearances, she was an established community leader in a small city of fewer than 10,000 people. But in July 2024, everything changed. According to court testimony, Roberts hosted a pool party at her home. Several teenagers were present, including a 16-year-old boy who was reportedly a friend of her son. Witnesses later testified that alcohol was available at the party and that both teens and adults had been drinking. What prosecutors argued happened next became the center of the criminal case. The state alleged that Roberts, who was 42 at the time, engaged in sexual activity with the 16-year-old during the party. Under Louisiana law, that age difference made the encounter a felony offense, even if consent were claimed because of the specific age thresholds outlined in state statutes. Multiple teenagers who attended the party later testified. Some say they saw Roberts and the teen together in private areas of the home. Others described behavior they considered inappropriate. One of the more dramatic moments during the trial involved testimony from Roberts' own children and relatives who were present at the party and later spoke to investigators. Another significant piece of testimony came from a DoorDash driver. The driver told the jury he delivered emergency contraception, commonly known as Plan B, to Roberts' home shortly after the alleged encounter. Prosecutors presented that as circumstantial evidence suggesting something sexual had occurred. Roberts' ex-husband also testified, claiming she admitted to having sex with the teen. The defense, however, challenged the credibility of the witnesses and argued that the case relied heavily on intoxicated teenagers' accounts and circumstantial details rather than definitive physical evidence. Initially, Roberts faced charges including third-degree rape. However, after procedural issues and delays, she was ultimately tried on charges of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile. The trial took place in early 2026 in Beauregard Parish after hearing testimony from the alleged victim, family members, law enforcement, and other witnesses. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. On March 3, 2026, the verdict came down, guilty on both felony counts. Those convictions carry serious consequences. Under Louisiana law, carnal knowledge of a juvenile can carry a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, while indecent behavior with a juvenile can add additional prison time. Conviction also requires sex offender registration. Roberts had already resigned as mayor shortly after the investigation began in 2024, effectively ending her political career. By the time of the verdict, she was no longer in office, but the case had already deeply impacted the community she once led.
The top jurors saw pictures of the 2024 party in question, including kids holding drinks by the pool and a photograph prosecutors are calling lewd. That picture showed Roberts at the party in her bikini and the teen looking up at her smiling. The majority of their bodies were not visible in that photograph. Text messages were presented by the prosecution between Roberts and her son, including what alcohol the kids wanted for the party and through the evening, as Robert's son told her what was happening was crazy and that his little sister was crying. Her son also texted Roberts that, quote, he is 17. However, the boy was actually 16 at the time. That younger sibling also took the stand while her interview with investigators played. In it, she said she saw her mother and the young man, quote, on top of each other that night. Robert's nephew admitted to using his phone camera to see what was happening in the room that night. He testified that he's unsure if he hit record, but said if so, it was never sent to anyone, and he since wiped his Snapchat memories. The defense asked her nephew why he cleared his Snapchat before turning it over to investigators, and he says it was because he had photos of him and his friends drinking and was worried he was going to get in trouble.
The story drew national attention not just because of the charges, but because it involved an elected official and a minor who was connected to her own family's social circle. It raised questions about power dynamics, responsibility, and how quickly a public reputation can collapse under criminal allegations. As of the verdict, Roberts awaits sentencing, which will determine how much prison time she may serve. What began as a summer pool party in a small Louisiana town ultimately ended with a felony conviction and the fall of a mayor.
I'm getting real sick and tired of seeing all these older women messing with children. Like, what's going on, y'all? Y'all down bad? Ain't y'all got a bunch of people in y'all DMs? Y'all always tell me you got a line of guys in your DM that want to be with you. You always telling men, oh, I need my bills paid, I need this, I need that. What can that 16-year-old boy offer you? You sleeping with him. I never seen women so down bad. And I know we like to joke and say, oh, that boy was lucky and where were these women at when I was 16 years old, but I got sons. That shit is not cool. I gotta... What, the manipulation tactics ain't working on grown men no more, so now you're chasing the easier target? It's getting ridiculous, man. Y'all start answering them DMs. When I hit you up, you don't got nothing to say. But when the 16-year-old... Ladies, start watching these crazy bitches around your sons. Don't be sending your sons to parties and sleepovers and daughters too. Keep them away from all these predators. It's getting wild out here. People are down bad.
Now, guys, not to keep you too long, just to give my honest opinion, this is a joke. And this is a prime example of how, being in the law protects other people who, work for the system. At the end of the day, she was a mayor. And for 10 years to be the maximum she's facing in a situation like this, as a mayor as well, like, you have an extra, responsibility to make sure you're not doing stuff like this. You're literally the mayor. And guys, just watching this back and listening to it back, when I say 10 years is not, good enough, I'm not saying 10 years itself, but, if 10 years is the maximum, you can expect a 1 to 2 year sentence, bro. Like, just using your common sense, how the law works. I've covered many of these videos. When that's the maximum, they're usually throwing that out there to kind of keep people kind of calm. You know what I'm saying? And that's also the maximum on paper, right? But a lot of times they are not going to get the maximum, bro. If you know how the law works, they're going to get a little 1 to 2. She might even get probation, bro. So that's why I'm saying it's not that deep. If it was 10 itself, then cool. Of course, I'm not saying that's not that deep, right? But I'm saying because she's probably not going to get 10, that's why I'm saying it's not that deep, bro. And you're out here doing this, and the most you could be facing is a potential of 10 years. This is an absolute joke. This system is a joke. And yeah, bro, like, they don't care, bro. Like, I'm just going to keep it honest. They don't care at all. And yeah, man, she got away with this, honestly, so, and, shout out to all the women who are out here doing this, obviously I'm joking. I'm not being serious when I'm shouting out these women, but I'm just saying, like, it's a thing going on, bro. And women really do have a reputation of doing this now, bro. I remember growing up, I never really looked at women as, the offenders. It was mostly men. I'm more so looking at women as the offenders now. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm covering a story about this going on every week. And yeah, I'm gonna just leave it there. This sentence is a joke. So if you're a woman planning on doing more things like this, you might as well go ahead, because there's not going to be any severe consequence. That's what the law is basically telling you right here. But obviously, frustration aside, don't do nothing like that. I'm out.